The first sign was not a scream. It was the way the air split like someone tore a sheet of paper. A red crack opened above a quiet two-lane road. Pine trees stood on both sides like dark walls. A single street light buzzed and flickered. Then a man dropped out of the tear and hit the asphalt on one knee. He did not groan. He did not panic. He stood up slowly. A long red coat hung off him like it belonged on a battlefield, not a road in the middle of nowhere. His hair was dark. His skin was pale. His eyes were too calm. He looked at the sky first, like he expected to see a city there, or a castle, or a war. Instead, he saw only stars. For a moment, he was still. Then he smiled. It was not a friendly smile. It was the kind that said he had been bored for a long time, and something finally changed. A car passed far away. Its headlights slid over him for half a second and kept going. The driver did not notice the tier closing behind him. The road went quiet again. The man's head turned. He heard it before any human would. Feet in the dirt, fast breathing, hungry whispering, the smell of old blood. A small vampire nest had been living near this road, taking people from gas stations and lonely motels. Tonight, they smelled something new. 3 shapes came out of the trees, then 2 more. 5 in total. All pale, all with sharp teeth already showing. One was a woman with torn jeans and a cruel grin. "Easy," she said, stepping closer. "Look at you. You lost, honey?" The man did not answer. He studied them like a scientist studies bugs. The woman hissed, then rushed him. He moved. To a human eye, it looked like he simply vanished. In the next blink, he was behind her. His hand was on the back of her head. He slammed her face into the road so hard the asphalt cracked. The other vampires froze for half a second. That half second was enough. The man's coat flared as he turned. 2 big pistols were suddenly in his hands, like they had been there the whole time. The guns looked wrong, too large to be real. He fired once. The sound was like thunder in a narrow valley. One vampire's chest exploded backward. The body flew into the trees and did not get back up. The others rushed him together, trying to swarm him. He laughed softly. Then shadows moved under his feet, thick and alive. Dark shapes rose like hands and jaws. They grabbed ankles. They snapped at knees. One vampire screamed as something invisible bit into his shoulder and yanked him down. The man did not back away. He walked forward through them. A vampire slashed his cheek. Blood sprayed. The wound closed before the vampire could smile about it. Another vampire drove a blade toward his ribs. The blade went in. The man looked down at it like it was an annoying mosquito. Then his body tightened. Muscles clenched. The blade bent. He grabbed the vampire's wrist and crushed it with one squeeze. Bone cracked. The vampire shrieked. The man leaned close, voice calm and almost polite. "You are not my prey, but you will do." He fired again. Another body dropped. The woman from the start crawled on hands and knees, face bleeding, eyes wide with fear. "What are you?" The man tilted his head. "A question," he said, "or an answer. It depends on who is asking." A car engine roared closer. Fast. Heavy. Headlights rushed in and lit the road bright. A black Chevy Impala slid to a stop sideways. 2 men stepped out fast. One was older looking, with a leather jacket and a stance that said he had been in fights his whole life. The other was taller, with longer hair, eyes always scanning like he was solving a puzzle even while breathing. Dean Winchester saw bodies and fangs and blood, and did what he always did. He raised his gun. "Hands," Dean snapped. "Now." The red-coated man turned slowly. His eyes met Dean's. He looked amused, like a teacher watching a student act brave. Sam's gaze flicked to the bodies, then to the stranger's guns, then to the way the stranger stood like none of this mattered. Sam did not lower his weapon, but his voice was steadier. "Okay," Sam said. "We're not here to start a war. We're here to stop monsters from hurting people." The stranger's smile widened, just a little. "Good," he said. "Then perhaps you can be useful." Dean's eyes narrowed. "Oh, I don't like you." Dean fired a warning shot. It hit the stranger in the shoulder. The stranger did not flinch. He looked down at the hole in his coat. Blood soaked the fabric. Then the skin pulled together. The torn cloth stayed torn, but the wound was gone. Dean's stomach dropped. He hit it with a curse under his breath. Sam's jaw tightened. He had seen strange things. Still, this was not normal. The stranger lifted his hand slightly, still holding his pistols. "Where is my master?" he asked, like that was the only question that mattered. Dean barked a harsh laugh. "Buddy, I don't know what Ren Fair you crawled out of, but..." Sirens wailed in the distance. Sheriff's cars, maybe, or state troopers. Someone had heard gunfire. Dean swore again. "Why, great. Just great. Sam, we are not explaining this to cops." Sam took one step closer, careful. "Listen," he said to the stranger. "If you stay here, you'll get surrounded, and then people will die. Do you want that?" The stranger looked toward the sirens. His head turned slightly, like he could count the cars by sound. His face showed interest, not fear. Dean moved to block him from the Impala. "You take one step toward those cops, I swear." The air changed. It got colder, like someone opened a freezer door inside the world. A man appeared on the road as if he had always been there. Trench coat, tie, face too serious, eyes like deep water. Sam knew him right away. "Cass," Sam breathed. Dean's shoulders went tight. "Perfect. Now it's a party." Castiel stared at the red-coated stranger. He did not look at the bodies. He did not look at Dean or Sam. His focus locked on the stranger like a weapon sight. "You are not in the book," Castiel said. The stranger's eyes brightened at that, like someone had finally said something interesting. He took one slow step forward, and he smiled like this world had just become fun. Bobby Singer's house had seen a lot. Demons, ghosts, hunters bleeding out on his floor, books that smelled like dust and danger. But even Bobby had not seen this. They got there before the sirens reached the road. It took teamwork, gunpoint threats, and a lot of yelling. Dean drove like he was fleeing a bomb. Sam kept looking back at the stranger in the rearview mirror. The stranger sat in the back seat like he owned it. His long coat barely fit. He looked out the window, studying the passing trees and gas stations like a tourist in a strange zoo. Castiel traveled his own way. He simply appeared again at Bobby's, standing near the porch like he had been waiting for them. Bobby came out with a shotgun in one hand and a flask in the other. He took one look at the stranger and said, "No." Dean jumped out. "Bobby." Bobby pointed the shotgun at Dean first, like Dean was the problem. "Don't Bobby me. You got that look. That I found a thing look. I hate that look." Sam climbed out slower. "We didn't find a thing," Sam said. "We found him." The stranger gave Bobby a polite nod. "Hello." Bobby's eyes sharpened. He looked the stranger up and down. He clocked the guns, the coat, the calm. Then Bobby looked at Castiel. "That yours?" Castiel blinked. "No." Dean slapped his hands out. "Okay, everybody relax. Nobody's eating anybody." The stranger's smile twitched, like the word eating amused him. Bobby grunted. "Inside. Now. And if you track blood on my floor, I'm gonna make you mop it with your tongue." The stranger stepped in without hesitation. Bobby's living room became a war room in minutes. Salt lines went on the windowsills, iron nails in the doorframe. A devil's trap was drawn under the rug because Bobby liked traps you couldn't see. Holy water sat in glasses like it was lemonade. Bobby even pulled out an old, heavy book wrapped in leather. Dean paced. He kept his gun close. He kept his face hard. But inside, his brain was sprinting. That thing healed from a bullet like it was nothing. It moved like a blur. It killed vampires like they were paper targets. And it asked for a master. Dean did not like masters. Masters meant chains. Masters meant armies. Masters meant someone was pulling strings. Sam sat at the table, hands clasped, watching the stranger closely. Sam's fear was real, but it sat next to something else. Curiosity. The stranger sat on Bobby's couch like it was a throne. He crossed one leg over the other. He placed his pistols on the coffee table with careful respect, like they were holy objects. Bobby pointed at them. "Those real?" The stranger's eyes slid to Bobby. "Very," Dean snorted. "Yeah, we noticed." Bobby nodded at Castiel. "You said he's not in your angel Google." Castiel frowned slightly, as if the idea of angel Google was confusing. "He is not listed among heaven's creations. He does not match any creature I know." Dean made a sharp gesture at the stranger. "So what is he, Cass? Demon? Angel? Freaky vampire king?" The stranger's eyes narrowed a little at vampire. Not angry. Just interested. Bobby moved to the shelf and grabbed a small silver knife. "Let's do a few checks." The stranger leaned back. "If you must." Bobby stepped closer. Dean's body shifted without thinking. Dean put himself between Bobby and the stranger just a little. That annoyed Dean. He did not like being protective of a problem. Bobby pricked the stranger's finger with the silver knife. Blood welled, dark and rich. No smoke, no burn, no hiss. Bobby grunted. "Not a demon." Dean muttered, "Fantastic. That narrows it down to like a billion other nightmares." Bobby tried iron next, then holy water. The stranger did not react. He watched like he was watching children play a game. Sam cleared his throat. "You asked about your master," Sam said. "Who is that?" The stranger's gaze softened in a strange way. Not warm, not kind, but focused, like a soldier remembering orders. "My master is the one who gave me purpose," he said. "Without that purpose, I am unassigned." Dean pointed at him. "So you're like a Roomba, but with teeth." The stranger's smile returned. "I do not know what a Roomba is." Dean waved a hand. "Never mind. Not important." Bobby huffed. "Name." The stranger looked at Bobby like the word was optional. "Names are useful," he admitted. "But they are also doors." Sam leaned in a little. "So, give us a useful one." The stranger considered that. He did not answer with a name. Instead, he said, "You may call me what you like." Dean immediately said, "Dracula." Sam shot Dean a look. "Dean?" Dean shrugged. "What?" "Red coat. Vampire vibes. Fancy words." Come on." The stranger's eyes gleamed. For a second, it looked like he might laugh. Then he said very calmly, "That is inaccurate." Dean smirked. "You offended?" The stranger tilted his head. Amused. Bobby rubbed his face with one hand. "Great. I got Dracula on my couch and angels in my kitchen. Must be Tuesday." Castiel stepped forward. His posture was stiff, like a soldier waiting for permission to act. "I can attempt to read him," Castiel said. Dean's voice sharpened. "Cass, don't. Last time you read something, we ended up with a hole in a wall." Castiel ignored the comment and placed 2 fingers near the stranger's forehead. The stranger did not flinch. He watched Castiel with calm interest, like he was curious what heaven felt like up close. Castiel's eyes flashed blue for a split second. Then Castiel pulled back fast, and like he had touched a live wire. Bobby's voice dropped. "What?" Castiel stared at the stranger, expression tight. "There are many Castiel said. Many lives, many deaths, many voices. Sam's skin prickled. Like souls? Castiel nodded once. Contained. Bound. Inside him. Dean's hand tightened on his gun. So he's a walking graveyard. The stranger's smile turned sharp. A library, he corrected. Dean scoffed. Yeah, no, that's not better. Bobby's eyes hardened. How do you kill him? The stranger looked at Bobby as if Bobby had asked what color the sky was. You do not, he said simply. Dean took a step forward, anger flashing. Everything dies. The stranger met Dean's stare without blinking. Everything can be destroyed, he agreed, but not everything can be killed. That sentence hung in the room like a cold fog. Sam exhaled slowly. Okay, Sam said, gentle but firm. Then what do you want right now? Not long-term, not philosophical. Right now. The stranger's gaze shifted to Sam. He studied him like he was reading a page. A hunt, he said. A real one. Dean barked a laugh again, but it came out tense. Oh, you want a hunt? Buddy, welcome. That's our whole thing. Bobby pointed at Dean. Shut up. Castiel looked between them. Heaven is aware of him now, Castiel said. The anomaly is loud. Dean's eyes narrowed. Anomaly. Castiel nodded. A tear between worlds. A foreign being with power. It draws attention. Sam's voice was quiet. From who? Castiel's face stayed blank, but his words were blunt. From heaven, from hell, from things older than either. Bobby swore under his breath. Dean leaned on the table, eyes on the stranger. So, Dean said, voice low. You just dropped in. No one here knows you. You heal. You kill fast. You've got a whole soul storage unit in your chest. And now, angels are sniffing around. The stranger listened like Dean was listing ingredients for a recipe. Dean continued. You see the problem? The stranger smiled. Yes. Dean's jaw tightened. And, the stranger said. I'm still here. Silence. Then Bobby slammed his palm on the table. Here's how it's gonna go, Bobby said. You don't kill humans, not even bad ones, not even stupid ones. You don't start fights in towns. You don't make me clean up your mess. The stranger looked at Bobby, amused again. You're giving me rules. Bobby held his stare. Damn right I am. Dean expected the stranger to laugh, or threaten, or do something arrogant. Instead, the stranger nodded once, like he respected the idea of rules. Very well, the stranger said. Rules can be entertaining. Dean didn't like that word. Entertaining meant the rules were a game to him. Sam spoke quickly, trying to shape this into something safer. We'll help you figure out what happened, Sam said. How you got here, who you're looking for. But you work with us. Dean snapped. We watch you. The stranger looked between them, then leaned back again. Watch, he repeated. Yes. Do that. Castiel's head tilted. You are not afraid. The stranger's eyes slid to Castiel. Fear is useful, he said, but I do not suffer from a lack of it. I suffer from a lack of purpose. Bobby looked at Dean and Sam like he was weighing a bad choice against a worse one. Then Bobby sighed. Fine, he said. Functional. Uneasy. Whatever this is. But if he sneezes wrong, we put him down. Dean nodded, even though he wasn't sure they could. The stranger stood up. His coat brushed the floor. He looked at the weapons on the table like they were toys. Then he looked at Dean again. Dracula, Dean said, like he was daring him to react. The stranger gave Dean a small, slow smile. Call me that again, he said softly, and I will start calling you Meal. Dean froze for half a second. Then Dean scoffed. Yeah? You try it. Sam cut in fast. Okay, great. Love the bonding. Let's not do that. Outside, the night stayed quiet, but far away, in places no hunter could see, Attention turned toward Bobby's little house like a spotlight. In heaven, someone marked a new problem. In hell, someone smiled and started making plans. And in Bobby's living room, the red-coated stranger sat back down like a king waiting for war. 2 nights later, Dean was still not sleeping right. He sat in the Impala outside a motel and watched the window of their room. The curtains were closed. Sam was inside with books. Bobby was on the phone, feeding them lore and warnings. Castiel had vanished again, checking things in heaven. And the stranger was somewhere close. Dean hated that. He hated not knowing where the threat was, even when the threat said it was cooperating. Sam opened the door and slid into the passenger seat with a folder of printed reports. "Okay," Sam said. "We've got a pattern." Dean sipped cold coffee and frowned. "Hit me." Sam flipped pages. "Bodies found in 3 towns over the last week, all drained. But the bite marks don't match our usual vamp bites." Dean stared at the photos for half a second, then looked away. "Great. Vampire arts and crafts." Sam shook his head. "No, look. They're wrong. Too deep. Too clean. Like something tried to copy vampire feeding but doesn't know how." Dean's mouth tightened. "Like a newbie vamp?" Sam pointed at another page. "Except there's no sign of turning. No new vamps. Just dead bodies." Dean leaned back. "So what's the play?" Sam hesitated. "The play is, we might ask our house guest." Dean made a sound like a growl. "I hate that you're right." They went back into the motel room. The stranger stood by the window, curtains open now, looking out at the parking lot like it was a battlefield map. He did not sit. He did not fidget. He simply watched. Sam cleared his throat. "We've got a case." The stranger didn't turn. "Of course you do," he said. Dean dropped the photos on the bed. "Weird vampire kills. Not your style, but close enough to make people call it vampires." The stranger looked at the photos without touching them. His eyes narrowed slightly, like he was bored by the attempt. "An imitation," he said. Sam looked at him. "You can tell from a photo?" The stranger finally turned. "I can tell from the lack of artistry," he said. "From the fear in the wounds. Whoever did this is hungry and clumsy. Or hungry and rushed." Dean crossed his arms. "So you're saying you could do better?" The stranger smiled. "Easily." Dean rolled his eyes. "Of course you can." Sam stepped between them in that careful way he used when he didn't want Dean to start a fight. "Can you help us stop it?" Sam asked. The stranger's eyes brightened. "Yes." Dean frowned. That sounded too happy. The stranger lifted his pistols from the bedside table like he had placed them there on purpose. "A hunt," he said. "Finally." They drove to the next town before dawn. It was the kind of place Dean hated. Too quiet. Too normal. A small hospital. A main street with a diner and a hardware store. Families who didn't know what lived in the dark. The deaths were clustered near the hospital. That made Sam tense right away. Hospitals meant people who couldn't run. They parked behind the building. Sam and Dean carried duffel bags full of hunter tools. Salt. Iron. Holy water. A few blades. A few guns. The stranger walked with empty hands, hands in his coat pockets, calm like he was on a stroll. Dean muttered, "I swear, if you start monologuing, I'm leaving you." The stranger glanced at him. "You speak too much," he said. "It is charming." Dean's face twisted. "Did you just—" Sam cut in, quick. "Okay, let's focus." Inside, the hospital smelled like clean soap and sickness. A nurse at the front desk looked up. "Can I help you?" Sam leaned in with his best fake smile. "We're here about the incident." The nurse's face tightened. "Are you reporters?" Dean flashed a badge. It was fake, but it had worked 1,000 times. No. Federal. The nurse sighed, already tired. The police are in the back. They moved down the hall. The stranger's eyes tracked everything. Cameras, exits, the rhythm of footsteps, the way the lights hummed. Dean caught him looking at an old man in a wheelchair. Dean's voice went sharp. Don't. The stranger's eyes slid back to Dean, calm. He's not my prey, he said. Dean didn't relax. They found the body in a storage room near the morgue. A young orderly lay on the floor, eyes open, skin gray. Bite marks were on the neck, but they were too wide, like something forced its mouth to fit a shape it didn't have. Sam swallowed hard. Yeah, that's wrong. The stranger crouched and sniffed the air. His nostrils flared slightly. Then he stood. Not vampire, he said. Dean frowned. Then what? The stranger's gaze went to the ceiling, like he was listening through the building. He smiled. Demon, he said, almost pleased. Sam stiffened. You can smell demons? The stranger's eyes gleamed. I can smell sin, he said. Dean's mouth tightened. That's disturbing. A scream echoed down the hall. Then another. Sam and Dean ran. The stranger didn't run. He simply moved. 1 second he was behind them. The next, he was ahead, and coat fluttering like a flag. They reached the pediatric wing. A security guard was on the floor, bleeding from the neck. A demon had the nurse pinned against the wall. Black eyes, ugly grin. Whoops, the demon said, mock sweet. Wrong snack. Sam raised his gun, loaded with salt. Get away from her, the demon laughed. Hunters. Cute. But I'm not here for... He stopped, because the stranger was there now, between the demon and the nurse. The demon's smile faltered. What the hell are you? The demon snapped. The stranger smiled back, wider. A problem, he said. The demon lunged. The stranger didn't dodge. He let the demon's hand slam into his chest. The demon's fingers sank in like claws. The stranger looked down at the demon's hand in his body, then looked back up at the demon. Rude, he said. Then the stranger's shadow rose up like a mouth and bit the demon's arm clean off. Black smoke exploded from the stump. The demon screamed. The nurse collapsed and scrambled away. Dean shot the demon with salt. The demon staggered, but didn't drop. Demons didn't drop like that. The stranger raised one pistol and fired. The bullet hit the demon's head and punched it back into the wall. The sound echoed down the hall like a cannon. The demon shook, smoking, stunned more than hurt. Sam shouted, "Dean, get the nurse out!" Dean grabbed her and dragged her behind a doorway. Sam moved to draw a devil's trap fast, chalk in hand, but the demon was already crawling backward, eyes wild. It wasn't scared of Sam. It was scared of the stranger. Then more demons appeared. 2 came from one side, 3 from the other. Like they had been waiting. Dean's voice cut through. Ambush! Sam's heart dropped. They were already here. The stranger chuckled. Excellent, Dean snapped. Stop enjoying it. The demons didn't attack all at once. They spread out, trying to box him in. Smart. One demon held up a small metal device with etched symbols. It looked like a grenade, but darker. Meaner. Boss wants you alive, the demon said. So play nice. Dean's eyes narrowed. Boss? Sam's mind raced. Demons didn't coordinate like this unless someone made them. Crowley. Or someone like him. The stranger tilted his head. Alive, he repeated. How optimistic. The demon activated the device. The air snapped. A circle of red light formed on the floor around the stranger. Sigils glowed like hot wire. It wasn't a devil's trap. It was something else. Something built for containment. The stranger looked down at the glowing circle. His smile faded. Just a little. Oh, he said, quietly pleased. You brought a cage. Dean fired at the device. A demon body blocked the shot. Sam threw holy water. It splashed a demon's face. The demon screamed and fell back, smoke pouring from its eyes. The demon surged. Dean and Sam fought like they always did. Quick, dirty, practical. Shoot, stab, move. Salt in the eyes, iron to the gut, sigils slapped on skin. They were good. But they were human. And there were too many demons in a hospital full of people who couldn't run. The stranger stood inside the glowing circle like a lion inside a glass box. Then he moved his hand. He pressed his palm to the air like he was touching a wall. The red light flared. The sigils pulsed harder. The cage held. For a moment, Dean felt hope. Then the stranger laughed. It wasn't a friendly laugh. It was the laugh of someone who finally found a challenge. He leaned forward, eyes bright, and spoke softly. The words didn't sound like Latin. They sounded older, sharper. His shadow thickened. It pressed against the glowing wall. It pushed like a tide. The sigils flickered. The demon with the device shouted, "Hold it! Hold it!" The cage cracked like thin ice. Then it shattered. The red light exploded outward in a wave. Demons flew back into walls. Windows blew out. Lights burst overhead. Dean hit the floor hard. Sam slammed into a cart and tasted blood. The stranger stepped out of the broken circle like it had never existed. He rolled his shoulders once, like loosening up. "Better," he said. The demons scrambled up, panicked now. One demon tried to run. The stranger's shadow snapped forward and grabbed the demon's ankle. It yanked him back so hard his head hit the floor with a crack. The stranger walked toward the nearest demon, calm and smiling again. The demon raised a blade. The stranger didn't care. He fired a single shot. The demon's body jerked. Smoke curled. Then the demon's mouth twisted into a grin, even while it suffered. "You don't get it," it hissed. "This isn't about the hospital. This is about you." Dean pushed himself up. "Who sent you?" The demon spat black blood. "The king." Dean's stomach sank. Sam's eyes narrowed. "Crowley." The demon smiled wider, like it loved saying the name without saying it. The stranger paused at that. He looked almost interested. "A king," he said. "How quaint." Dean stepped forward, gun up, voice hard. "Why, tell your king to go to hell." The demon laughed. "Oh, he's already there." A sudden gust swept through the hallway. Not wind, not normal air. It felt like pressure, like the room was being squeezed by invisible hands. Castiel appeared at the end of the hall, eyes blazing. "Enough," Castiel said. The demons recoiled. Even demons respected that kind of power. Dean exhaled fast. "Cass!" Castiel didn't look at Dean. His gaze locked on the stranger. The stranger met his gaze with calm curiosity, like he was watching a storm form. Castiel's voice was low. "Hell is attempting to seize you." The stranger shrugged slightly. "They may try." Castiel's eyes flicked to the demons. He raised a hand. A bright flash filled the hallway. 2 demons burst into smoke instantly. Their vessels collapsed like empty coats. The remaining demons screamed and scrambled. Castiel stepped forward again, but the air changed again. The lights stopped flickering. They went steady. The pressure shifted. It didn't feel like a storm anymore. It felt like a judge walking into court. A new figure appeared, not with wings or smoke, but with a clean snap of reality. He wore a suit. His face was calm. His eyes were cold and certain, like he had already decided the ending. Castiel stiffened. "You." The suited angel didn't look at Dean or Sam first. He looked at the stranger like he was studying a weapon on a table. "Castiel," the angel said, voice smooth. "You have been careless." Dean's throat went dry. He knew that voice type. Angel voice. Boss voice. Sam stepped closer to Dean, quiet. "Who is that?" Dean whispered back. That's trouble." The angel's gaze finally flicked to Dean and Sam, like they were ants near a spilled sugar cube. "Humans," he said, bored. Then he looked back at the stranger. "And you?" The stranger smiled, polite again. "And I." The angel spoke like he was reading a report. "You are not part of this creation. You do not belong. Your presence destabilizes the plan." Dean snapped. "Oh, here we go." The angel ignored Dean. "You will come with me," he told the stranger. The stranger's smile sharpened. "No." The angel's eyes narrowed, a hint of irritation slipping through. "You do not understand. This is not a request." The stranger took one slow step forward. The demons, the hunters, even Castiel, all felt it. Like a predator deciding to stop playing. He leaned his head slightly to one side, as if listening to the angel's heartbeat. Then he spoke, soft and clear. "Then make me." For a split second, the angel looked surprised. Then the angel raised his hand. The world slammed down. An invisible force crushed the hallway. Tiles cracked. Walls groaned. Dean and Sam dropped to their knees, unable to breathe right. Their ribs felt like they were being squeezed. The stranger's coat snapped in the pressure. His boots scraped the floor. But he did not fall. He stood there under angelic force, like a man standing in heavy rain. His eyes gleamed. "Ah," he said, voice steady. "So this is heaven." Castiel forced words out, strained. "Stop! This is a hospital." The angel didn't even blink. "Then they should have built it somewhere else." Dean's vision blurred. He tasted blood. Rage hit him hard. Sam's hands shook as he tried to crawl toward a fallen nurse, and trying to pull her behind a wall. The stranger looked around at the humans struggling to breathe. His smile faded. Not because he feared the angel, because he noticed the collateral. He stepped forward again. The angel's force intensified. The stranger's skin split in places. Blood seeped out. Bones creaked. Then the wounds closed again. Again and again. The stranger lifted one pistol, slowly, like lifting a weight. The angel's eyes narrowed. "Do not." The stranger fired. The bullet didn't fly like a normal bullet. It screamed through the air like a heavy piece of metal thrown by a cannon. It hit the angel's shoulder. The suit tore. Blood flashed bright for a second, too clean and too strange. The angel's head snapped slightly. Not hurt like a human. More like offended. The angel's gaze burned now. "That is enough." He flicked his hand. The stranger vanished from the hallway. Not teleported. Pinned. He reappeared 5 feet to the side, smashed into a wall like an invisible fist had grabbed him and thrown him. The wall cratered. Dust poured down. Dean gasped as the pressure eased on his lungs. He sucked in air like he had been drowning. Sam coughed hard, eyes watering. Castiel took a step forward, anger in his posture. "You cannot just—" The angel turned his head slightly, and Castiel froze like a dog under a command. The angel's voice was quiet, dangerous. "I can do whatever I want. That is what you have forgotten." The stranger stepped out of the broken wall, coat dusty now, but posture unchanged. He wiped a bit of plaster from his cheek. He smiled again. "That was rude," he said. Then his shadow moved. It did not just form hands this time. It formed mass. A black wave rolled under his feet and surged toward the angel like a living flood, trying to swallow the space between them. The angel's eyes flicked down. He raised both hands. The black wave stopped in midair, frozen, as if time had grabbed it. Then it snapped backward, slammed into the ceiling, and splattered like smoke that couldn't decide whether it was solid or not. The stranger's smile widened, thrilled now. Dean realized something with a cold punch of fear. This wasn't a fight. This was a test. 2 powers measuring each other, and the hospital was the table they were doing it on. Sam's mind raced. We can't win this by force. The angel could crush them all by accident. The stranger could level the building just by playing. So Sam did what Sam always did when fists would fail. He made it personal. Sam shouted, voice cracking but strong, "People are dying right now." The angel didn't look at Sam. Sam pushed harder. "If you're really heaven, then act like it." For a moment, the angel's eyes flicked to Sam. Irritation, like a fly buzzing. The stranger's head tilted. He looked at Sam with a new kind of interest. The angel spoke, cold. "This is bigger than them." Dean forced himself up, gun shaking in his hand. "Then you're the bad guys." Castiel strained against whatever hold the angel had on him. "Stop," Castiel said again, voice rough. "You will expose us." The angel's jaw tightened. Something like annoyance turned into calculation. He looked at the stranger one more time. "You will be contained," he said. "Soon." Then he looked at Castiel. "And you will answer for this." The angel vanished. Not with warmth, not with light. With a clean absence, so like the world deleted him. The demons, seeing their chance, bolted. Dean fired at one. It smoked and fled anyway. Castiel staggered slightly, then steadied. His eyes dimmed. The hospital alarms blared now. Nurses shouted. People cried. The stranger stood in the wrecked hallway, dust and blood on his coat, smiling like he had just tasted a new kind of war. Dean wiped blood from his lip and stared at him. "You see what you brought?" Dean snapped. The stranger looked at Dean calmly. "No," he said. "I see what your world already was." Sam's hands trembled as he helped a patient back into a room. He looked at the stranger with fear and something else. A sick understanding. Hell wanted him. Heaven wanted him. And both sides were willing to crush humans to get what they wanted. Dean stared at the broken ceiling tiles, the cracked walls, the terrified staff. Then Dean looked at the stranger again. For the first time, Dean didn't just see a monster, he saw a world-changing problem. And Dean knew one thing for sure. This was not a normal hunt anymore. This was a war with politics, deals, and powers that did not care who got caught in the middle. And sitting in their car, in their life, in their fight, was a red-coated stranger who smiled at war like it was home. Dean drove until the sun started to rise. The Impala's back seat still smelled like dust from the hospital wall. Sam kept rubbing his hands like he could scrub the feeling off them. Castiel sat in the passenger seat, stiff and silent, staring straight ahead. The red-coated stranger sat in the back like he was on a calm ride to church. Dean's jaw was tight the whole way. "Say something," Dean finally snapped, no eyes on the road. The stranger looked out the window. About what? About the fact that angels and demons just turned a hospital into a war zone, Dean said. "Because of you." The stranger's mouth twitched. "Because of me," he repeated, like he was tasting the words. "Or because your world is already owned by those who think they have the right." Sam's voice came out low. People almost died. The stranger turned his head slightly, and for the first time, his face wasn't amused. It wasn't kind either. It was simply direct. "They did die," he said. "Some. And it will happen again." Dean tightened his grip on the wheel. "You don't get to talk like that in my car." "I get to talk like I wish," the stranger replied, calm as ever. Dean's eyes flashed in the mirror. "Not in my—" "Dean!" Sam cut in fast, warning in his tone. "Not now." Dean swallowed the anger down. It sat in his chest like a rock. Castiel finally spoke. "The angel was not acting alone," he said. "This will be reported. There will be consequences." Dean snorted. "Yeah, no kidding." Sam leaned forward. "Cass, what did he mean?" "The plan." Castiel's eyes stayed on the road. "Heaven has a script," he said flatly. "A preferred outcome. You disrupt it often. This being disrupts it in a different way. Dean glanced at Castiel. Different how? Castiel hesitated, as if choosing words was new to him. He's not part of the rules, he said, and yet he survives them. The stranger smiled again, small and private. Dean hated that smile most of all. They reached a motel outside the next town over. Cheap. Quiet. The kind of place where people didn't ask questions if you paid cash. Dean shoved the door open and marched inside. Sam followed, carrying duffels and books. Castiel stayed near the window, like the outside world might attack at any second. The stranger moved through the room and looked around, judging it like a hotel critic. "One bed," Dean said. "No touching anything. No leaving without us. And if you drink anyone, I have rules," the stranger said, almost bored. Dean stared hard. "You have Bobby's rules." The stranger met his eyes. "Rules are rules," he said. "The source is irrelevant." Sam set papers on the table. His hand still shook a little. He hated that they shook. He pulled out his laptop and started searching through Hunter forums and Bobby's contacts. Reports were already spreading, like a sickness. A hospital incident. A riot. A gas line explosion. A mass panic. Humans made stories when the truth was too ugly. On a smaller Hunter board, the words were simpler. Angel activity. Demon team. New vamp thing in a red coat. Dean paced. He kept looking at the stranger like he expected him to vanish through the wall. Sam watched Dean and felt a familiar ache. Dean always put himself between the world and the people he loved. Tonight, Dean didn't know how to stand in front of this. Bobby called 20 minutes later. Dean answered on the first ring. "Tell me you've got something that kills whatever the hell he is." Bobby's voice was sharp. "Don't start with me. I'm working." Dean stopped pacing. "Bobby, angels showed up. Demons showed up. People got hurt." "I know," Bobby said. "Word's already moving. Hunters are asking questions. And that's not even the worst part." Sam leaned closer. "What's the worst part?" Bobby lowered his voice. "Somebody in hell is organizing like it's a business meeting. That ain't random demons." Dean's mouth twisted. "Crowley." "Could be," Bobby said. "Or something like him. Either way, they want your redcoat problem on a leash." Dean looked at the stranger across the room. "He's not a dog," Bobby huffed. "No, he's a grenade with opinions. Now listen, you keep him out of towns. You keep him out of crowds. And you keep him away from anything that smells like apocalypse." Sam frowned. "Apocalypse?" Bobby didn't answer right away. That silence was its own warning. Then Bobby said, "There are old texts about the horsemen, about seals, about angels picking fights. This has that smell." Dean felt his stomach turn. Bobby added, "And one more thing. The angel that showed up, that kind don't just threaten, he makes moves." Dean's eyes went to Castiel. "Cass?" Castiel's face was tight. "He will attempt containment," Castiel said. "Not conversation." The stranger spoke without turning around. "He attempted conversation," he said. "He simply forgot manners." Dean threw up his hands. "Oh my God." Sam rubbed his forehead. "Okay, so what do we do?" Dean pointed a finger at the stranger. "We figure out what he is. We figure out what he wants. And we figure out what we do if he goes bad." The stranger's smile returned. "I'm already bad," he said. "I simply keep promises when I choose to." Dean's temper flared again. "That's not comforting." "It wasn't meant to be," the stranger replied. Castiel's gaze stayed fixed on the stranger. "Heaven will not accept an unknown immortal," Castiel said. "Hell will not ignore a weapon that cannot be killed. Both will push." Sam looked down at the papers. "So we're the middle." Dean's voice went low. "We're always the middle." That night, Dean didn't sleep. He sat in a chair, gun on his lap, watching the stranger like he watched a bomb timer. The stranger stood near the window. He did not pretend to rest. Sam sat at the table, reading. He kept glancing up. Every time he did, he felt the same strange thing. The stranger looked lonely, not in a human way, not like someone who wanted friends, lonely like a storm trapped in a bottle. Around 2 a.m., the lights flickered, not like a power outage, like something had arrived. Dean stood so fast the chair scraped. A man appeared in the corner of the room, leaning against the wall like he'd paid for a room, too. He wore a neat suit. His hair was perfect. His smile was practiced. Dean's gun snapped up. "Nope." Sam stood, too. "Crowley." Crowley raised both hands. "Boys," he said, voice smooth. "Relax. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to talk business." Castiel's posture changed. Cold anger. "Leave." Crowley glanced at Castiel and smiled wider. "Ah, the trench coat. Still doing freelance work, I see." Dean's finger tightened on the trigger. "How did you get in?" Crowley sighed like Dean was slow. "I'm a demon, love. Doors are more of a suggestion." Then Crowley looked at the stranger. His smile faltered for half a second. "Just one." Then he recovered. "Well," Crowley said, stepping closer, careful. "You're even prettier in person." The stranger's eyes glittered. "A demon king," he said. "How fitting." Crowley blinked. "Oh, I like you. Straight to titles." Dean snapped, "Don't." Crowley ignored Dean, as usual. "Now, I'll be quick," he said, circling like a salesman. "You've caused a bit of a stir. Heaven's in a mood. Demons are excited. Hunters are terrified. And you, my red-coated mystery, are the center of it." Sam's voice was wary. "What do you want?" Crowley smiled at Sam like a proud uncle. "What I always want. Control and profit. But mostly control." Crowley turned back to the stranger. "I can offer you something," he said. "A place, a purpose, a hunting license, information. Maybe even a way home, if you're desperate enough." Dean scoffed. "He's not going to work for you." Crowley's eyes flicked to Dean. "And you're going to stop him? With what? A sad face and a shotgun?" Dean took a step forward. Try me." The stranger lifted a hand slightly, not to protect Dean, just to quiet the room. Crowley noticed. He liked that. Crowley leaned in, voice softer. "I can give you what your master gave you," he said. "Orders. Meaning. A war that never ends." The stranger stared at Crowley for a long moment. Sam watched closely. He expected anger. He expected violence. Instead, the stranger looked curious. "What is your price?" the stranger asked. Crowley's smile sharpened. "Simple. You work for me when I ask. You don't eat my people without permission. And you don't get in the way of my larger plans." Dean barked a humorless laugh. "There it is." The stranger tilted his head. "You wish to own me." Crowley shrugged like it was normal. "Own, rent, partner with. Call it what you want." The stranger's smile turned thin. "No." Crowley's grin froze. "No? No," the stranger repeated, calm. "I am not a pet." Crowley's eyes narrowed. "Everyone is a pet to someone." The stranger stepped closer. The air felt heavier for a second. Crowley's vessel didn't flinch, but Crowley's eyes changed, like an animal realizing it had walked too near a cliff. The stranger's voice stayed polite. "I will not wear your collar," he said, "but I will remember your offer." Crowley forced a chuckle. "Oh, you're adorable." Castiel stepped forward, fury controlled. "Leave, now." Crowley sighed. "Fine. But you should know," he said, pointing lazily at the stranger. "Heaven won't offer you a collar. Heaven offers chains and calls it love." Sam's stomach tightened. "And you?" Crowley smiled at Sam. I at least tell the truth about what I am." Then Crowley looked at the stranger one more time, voice turning serious. "They're going to come for you," he said. "Not with words next time, with cages, with rituals, with things that hurt." The stranger smiled like a student hearing about a hard test. "Good." Crowley vanished. Dean exhaled hard. "I hate him." Sam swallowed. He wasn't lying about heaven. Castiel's jaw tightened. "Heaven will escalate," Castiel said. Dean glared at the stranger. "And you," Dean said, "you're enjoying this." The stranger didn't deny it. "It is better than boredom," he said. Sam's voice came out quiet, almost sad. "Boredom isn't an excuse." The stranger looked at Sam. Something in his eyes shifted again, like Sam had struck a nerve without trying. "It is not an excuse," the stranger agreed. "It is a danger." Dean looked away, jaw working. He didn't like the idea that the stranger knew himself that well. The next morning, Bobby called again with new information. "Got something?" Bobby said. "A lead." Dean sat up. "What kind of lead?" Bobby's voice was wary. "Old hunter notes. Talk about a place out in the sticks. Used to be a monastery. Then a mining town grew around it. People vanish there every few years. Same pattern, same bloodless bodies. But the bites are wrong. Like what you showed me." Sam grabbed a pen. "What's the town name?" Bobby told him. Sam wrote it down. Dean frowned. "Why now?" Bobby paused. "Because somebody's stirring the pot," Bobby said. "And because there's another note, a warning." Dean's voice dropped. "What warning?" Bobby said. "It says, 'First blood wakes the war.'" Sam's skin prickled. Dean looked at Castiel. "That mean anything to you, Cass?" Castiel's eyes went distant. "It could," he said. "It sounds like a seal, or a ritual phrase." The stranger stood up like he had been waiting for this. "Take me there," he said. Dean snapped. "We don't take you anywhere." The stranger smiled. "You will," he said. "Because if you do not, I will go alone." Dean knew the truth of that. And Dean knew what would happen if the stranger walked into a town alone, looking for first blood. People would die. Dean pointed at him. "Fine," he said. "But you follow our lead." The stranger's smile widened. "Lead," he repeated. "Yes, of course." Sam grabbed the keys. "Let's go." As they left the motel, Castiel stayed behind for a second, staring at the sky like he could see heaven watching. Then he followed. Because whatever this was becoming, it was bigger than one town. And it was moving fast. The road to the town was long and empty. Trees pressed close. The sky was gray, the kind of day that made everything look colder than it was. Dean drove. Sam read Bobby's notes out loud. Castiel sat stiff again. The stranger sat in the back, quiet, like he was listening to the world's heartbeat through the seat. The town appeared in the distance like it was trying to hide. A few streets, a bar, a grocery store, a small church, old brick buildings with faded signs. The mines were shut down now. The monastery ruins sat on a hill behind the town, half-collapsed stone with weeds growing through cracks. Dean parked near the bar. "We ask questions," Dean said. "We don't start fights." The stranger looked out at the town with calm interest. "Fights find you," he said. Dean ignored that. Inside the bar, the air felt wrong right away. Too tense, too sharp. Two men at a table argued in low voices. A woman behind the counter watched everyone like she expected trouble. A jukebox played softly, but nobody looked relaxed. Dean walked up to the counter. "Afternoon," Dean said. "We're looking into some missing persons." The bartender's eyes narrowed. "You cops?" Sam flashed a fake smile. "No. We work private security." The bartender snorted. "Sure you do." Dean kept his voice friendly. "We heard there've been some incidents." The bartender wiped a glass too hard. "People leave," she said. "They don't get taken. They leave because this town is cursed." Dean leaned in. "Cursed how?" She glanced toward the window, toward the hill. "The old place," she said. "The stones. The church before the church. Bad things happened up there." Sam tried to press. "So like what?" A man at the table slammed his fist. "Shut up!" he shouted at his friend. The whole bar went silent. The friend stood too fast, chair scraping. "Make me!" he snarled. Dean felt it then. Not a sound, not a smell. A feeling. Like anger was thick in the air. Like someone had turned a dial up inside every person's chest. Dean's eyes flicked to Sam. Sam felt it too. The stranger's mouth curved into a small smile, like he recognized the scent of something familiar. The bartender whispered, "It's happening again." Outside, a shout rose from the street. Then another. Dean moved to the window. Two men were in the road, swinging at each other like they didn't care who saw. A woman screamed at them to stop. One of the men turned and shoved her so hard she hit the side of a parked truck. Sam's breath caught. "Oh, Dean!" Dean was already moving. He ran out, pushing through people gathering like it was entertainment. He grabbed one fighter by the collar and yanked him back. "Enough!" Dean snapped. The man's eyes were wild. "Get off me!" he screamed, and swung at Dean. Dean ducked, angry now too, and for half a second, he wanted to hit back harder than he should. Sam grabbed the other man, trying to pull him away. "Stop! What is wrong with you?" The man spit on the ground. "He looked at me," he hissed, like that was reason enough to kill. Castiel stepped into the street, eyes scanning. "This is influence," he said, voice tight. Dean wiped blood from his lip where a fist had clipped him. "Influence from what?" The stranger walked out behind them, calm in the middle of chaos. His eyes tracked the crowd. Then he looked up toward the hill. "Not a monster," he said quietly. "A force." Sam followed his gaze. The monastery ruin sat above the town like a broken crown. Dean's voice came out rough. "You know what it is?" The stranger didn't answer right away. He simply watched the town for another second, like he was listening to a song only he could hear. Then he said, "War." Dean's blood went cold. Sam's eyes widened. "The horsemen?" Castiel's jaw tightened. "It is possible," Castiel said. "War can amplify conflict, turn small anger into violence." Dean looked around at people shouting, pushing, pulling knives out like it was normal. "Yeah," Dean said. "That tracks." The stranger's smile returned. "Good," he said. "A worthy hunt," Dean snapped. "Stop saying that!" But the stranger didn't stop, because for him, this wasn't just danger. It was purpose knocking at the door. They moved fast after that. Dean forced the local sheriff to talk. It took a badge, a threat, and Bobby's name dropped like a hammer. The sheriff was tired and scared and trying not to show it. "People lose it," the sheriff said, rubbing his face. "Every few years. Fights. Fires. Sometimes bodies show up drained like cattle." Sam asked, "Where were the bodies found?" The sheriff swallowed. "Near the old tunnels," he said. "Under the hill." Dean looked at Sam. "Mine tunnels." Sam nodded, already thinking. "And the monastery ruins are right above them." Castiel's eyes narrowed. "The influence is strongest near the source," he said. Dean pointed at the hill. "Then we go there." The sheriff grabbed Dean's sleeve, desperate. "Don't," he said. "People who go up there don't come back right." Dean pulled free. "Yeah," Dean said. "Nah, that's kind of the point." They waited until evening, when fewer people would be outside. But even then, the town felt like a match near gasoline. A small push could set it off. Sam noticed his own temper rising and hated it. He kept breathing slow. He kept repeating facts in his head like they were anchors. "We are here to stop this. not to fight each other. Dean didn't talk much. His silence was tight and sharp. The stranger walked beside them up the hill. He looked at the ruins like he was visiting an old enemy's grave. Castiel stayed close, eyes scanning the dark. They reached the monastery remains as the sun fell. Stone walls stood broken. Old carved symbols were still visible on some blocks. The air smelled like wet earth and old smoke. Sam crouched and traced a symbol with his fingers. "This is not Christian," he said. "Not fully." Dean shined his flashlight over the floor. "Great. Demon graffiti." The stranger's voice drifted from behind them. "Older than demons," he said. Dean glanced at him. "How would you know?" The stranger didn't answer. He moved deeper into the ruins and stopped near a collapsed stairwell that led down. He looked at the darkness below like it was staring back. Sam's skin prickled. "There," Sam said. "That goes into the tunnels." Dean pulled out salt. He poured a line along the top of the stair opening. "Everyone stays inside the line," Dean said. The stranger stepped over it like it wasn't there. Dean grabbed his arm instantly. "Hey!" The stranger looked down at Dean's hand on his sleeve, then looked back at Dean's face. Dean's voice was low. "I don't know what you are, but I know what salt does." The stranger's eyes gleamed. "Salt is a boundary," he said, "not a wall." Dean's hand didn't move. "Then respect it." For a moment, the stranger stared at him. Then, slowly, he stepped back over the line. Sam blinked. Dean blinked. Castiel looked slightly surprised, too. The stranger's mouth twitched. "Rules," he said quietly. "Entertaining." Dean grunted. "Don't make me regret that." They went down together. The tunnel smelled like metal and damp stone. Old mine supports creaked. Water dripped steadily. Dean led. Sam stayed close behind. Castiel's eyes glowed faintly once, then dimmed, like he was saving power. The stranger moved last, silent as a shadow. They found the first sign of trouble about 50 yards in. A body. Not fresh. Not ancient. Somewhere in between. The skin was gray. The neck had bite marks, wide and wrong. Sam swallowed. "This is the pattern." Dean crouched, jaw tight. "And we're right on time." A sound echoed deeper in the tunnel. Footsteps. No. More like dragging. And then a voice. Soft. Male. Calm. "Hunters," the voice said, amused. "You brought a guest." Dean raised his gun. "Show yourself." The stranger stepped forward slightly, eyes bright now, like the hunt had started in his blood. A figure emerged from the dark. Tall. Pale. Eyes too old. Not like a normal vamp. Not hungry in a sloppy way. Hungry in a patient, proud way. The alpha vampire. He smiled at Dean and Sam like they were familiar toys. Then his eyes shifted to the stranger. His smile changed. Not fear. Interest. "What are you?" the alpha asked, voice smooth. The stranger smiled back. "Better," he said. Dean snapped. "Nobody asked you." The alpha chuckled. "Oh, I like him," he said. "He speaks like someone who has killed kings." The stranger's pistols appeared in his hands like magic. "I have," he said simply. The alpha spread his hands. "Easy," he said. "I'm not here to fight you." Dean didn't believe that for a second. "Then why are we here?" The alpha's eyes glinted. "Because someone wants something opened," he said. "And because my blood is the key." Sam's heart dropped. A ritual. Castiel's posture stiffened. Who is doing this? The alpha's smile widened. "Everyone," he said. "Hell. Heaven. Anyone hungry enough." Dean felt sick. "Angels too?" The alpha shrugged. "Angels lie better," he said. "But they want control just like demons do." The tunnel air changed again. Not pressure like the angel in the hospital. Something else. Heat. Sound. A feeling like people arguing in the next room. even though there was no room. Dean's teeth clenched. He felt anger rise for no reason. Anger at the Alpha. Anger at the stranger. Anger at the whole world. Sam felt it too. He forced his hands to unclench. Castiel's eyes widened slightly. "War," Castiel said. Low. A laugh rolled through the tunnel. Not the Alpha's laugh, not the stranger's. A bigger one, like it came from the stone itself. Then a man stepped out of the darkness behind the Alpha. He looked like a soldier dressed in modern clothes, but his presence made the tunnel feel like a battlefield. His eyes were calm. His smile was gentle, in a way that made Dean want to punch him. War. War looked at them like they were all children in a playground. "Hello," War said warmly. This town was getting boring. Dean's gun raised. "You." War's smile didn't fade. "Me," he agreed. "And you, Dean Winchester, are always so tense." Dean's stomach twisted. "How do you know my name?" War took one slow step forward. "I know everyone's name," he said. "Names are useful when you want to start fights." Sam's voice came out steady through effort. "What do you want?" War looked at Sam like he was proud. "That's the better question," War said. "I want what I always want. Conflict. Choice. A push." His gaze slid to the stranger. War's eyes brightened. "And you," he said softly. "You are a push the world didn't plan for." The stranger's smile was sharp now. "Finally," he said. "Something honest." Dean snapped. "Don't talk to him like—" War raised one finger. Dean's mouth shut, not by force, but by the sudden wave of anger flooding his chest. It was so strong it stole his breath. He wanted to hit something. Anything. Sam grabbed Dean's arm. "Dean," Sam said, urgent. "Fight it." Dean's hands shook. He forced air into his lungs. He looked at Sam's face. He held onto Sam's voice like a rope. Castiel stepped forward, jaw clenched. "You will stop," Castiel said. War smiled at Castiel like he was looking at a statue that could talk. "Angel," War said, "you're always pretending you don't feel anger. That's adorable." Castiel's eyes flashed, fury breaking through. Then he stopped himself, like he'd caught his own hand reaching for a weapon. The Alpha vampire backed away slowly, like he didn't want to be between these forces. War looked back at the stranger. "I can feel it," War said. "Your boredom. Your hunger for meaning." The stranger's eyes gleamed. "Yes," he said. "And?" War spread his hands. "Then here is your meaning," War said. "Fight." The tunnel lights flickered. Not electric lights, flashlights. Dean's beam shook. Sam's beam wobbled. It was like the air itself wanted the fight to start. The stranger stepped forward, pistols raised. Dean's voice cracked through, harsh. "No, this is what he wants." The stranger paused for half a second. He looked back at Dean, and Dean saw something that made his throat go tight. The stranger didn't look confused. He didn't look tricked. He looked like he understood Dean perfectly, and still wanted it. "I know," the stranger said quietly. Then he turned back to War and smiled wider. "And I still accept." The fight started like a gunshot. The stranger fired both pistols at War's chest. War didn't dodge. The bullets hit. War's body jerked slightly. His shirt tore. But he didn't fall. He didn't bleed like a human. It was like the damage didn't matter unless War decided it mattered. War laughed. "Good," he said. War flicked his hand. The ground under Dean's feet seemed to tilt. Dean slammed into the tunnel wall. He tasted blood and war. Sam rushed to him, grabbing his shoulder. "Dean, stay with me!" Dean shoved himself up, eyes wild, anger roaring. Sam hated War in that moment more than he'd hated almost anything. Because War wasn't just attacking bodies. He was attacking the line that kept them human. Castiel raised his hand, and tried to smite. A flash of light burst out. War turned his head and looked at it, like it was a flashlight beam in his eyes. "Cute," War said. Then War pointed at Castiel. Castiel's body stiffened. His face tightened with effort. His eyes flashed, then dimmed, like something was pressing on his grace. War smiled. "Angels fight wars," he said softly. "You just pretend you don't enjoy it." Castiel's jaw clenched. He forced his hand down, like he was refusing the temptation. Sam looked around fast. "The ring," Sam whispered. "In the lore, horsemen have rings. The ring is the anchor." Dean's eyes snapped to Sam. "Get it?" Sam nodded. He moved, low and fast, circling. The alpha vampire tried to slip away into the dark, but the stranger's shadow snapped out and grabbed him by the throat. The alpha hissed, "Let go!" The stranger yanked him back like a fish on a line and slammed him into a support beam. "Where is the ritual?" the stranger asked, voice calm and deadly. The alpha coughed. "Below," he rasped. "Deeper. There's a chamber. Old stones. Old words." The stranger's eyes brightened. "Good." War watched the stranger with interest, not anger, like he was watching a new weapon swing. "You don't belong here," War said, almost friendly. "But you fit." The stranger stepped toward War. War's aura surged. Dean felt his heart pound harder. He wanted to run at War. He wanted to shoot War. He wanted to punch War with his bare hands until his fists broke. Dean grabbed his own wrist and squeezed hard. Pain helped. Not much, but enough. Sam moved behind War now, careful. He could see War's hand clearly. On War's finger was a ring. Dark metal. Simple. Heavy. Sam reached into his coat for a small pouch of angel warding Bobby had given him. A strip of cloth with symbols. It wasn't perfect, but it might buy 1 second. Sam's hands shook. He hated that. He forced them steady. He lunged. War turned his head slightly, like he'd sensed the move before it happened. But War didn't stop Sam. War smiled, because War liked choice. Sam slammed the warding cloth against War's wrist. War's skin flared with light. His smile flickered. Sam grabbed the ring and yanked. The ring didn't come off easily. It felt like pulling a hook from stone. Sam gritted his teeth and pulled with everything he had. The ring popped free. The air changed instantly. The anger in Dean's chest dropped from a roar to a burn. Still there, but not controlling him. People in the town above wouldn't calm down right away, but the main pressure was gone. War looked at his bare finger. Then he looked at Sam. War's smile widened with something close to pride. "Good boy," War said. Dean saw Sam stagger back with the ring in his hand and felt a sudden rush of relief so strong it almost made him dizzy. Then War moved, not like a man walking, like a force sliding. Or War was in front of Sam in one blink. Dean raised his gun. "Sam!" The stranger was faster. The stranger's shadow snapped around War like a cage, thick and biting. It didn't hold War like a normal trap, but it slowed him for a breath. That breath was enough for Sam to stumble back toward Dean. War laughed, breaking through the shadow like it was smoke. He turned to the stranger and smiled. "Protective," War said. "That's fun." The stranger's eyes were bright with real joy now. "Yes," he said. "It is?" The stranger fired again. Closer now, bullets slamming War's face and chest. War took the hits like rain. War raised a hand, and the tunnel ceiling cracked. Rocks fell. Dean grabbed Sam and pulled him back. "Move!" Castiel threw up a warding gesture. A flash of light slowed the falling debris just enough for them to dive clear. The alpha vampire screamed as a rock clipped his shoulder. He tried to run again. The stranger's shadow yanked him back again, and the stranger snarled low. "Stay," he ordered. War watched all of it, pleased. "You can't kill me," War said to the stranger, calm and certain. "Not like this." The stranger's smile thinned. "Perhaps," he said. War stepped closer, voice softer. "But you can feed," War whispered. "You can unleash. You can stop pretending you're controlled." The stranger paused. Dean saw it. Sam saw it. War was not trying to win with punches. War was trying to win with a choice. Sam shouted, voice cracking, "Don't listen to him!" The stranger's eyes slid to Sam. For a moment, the stranger looked almost annoyed. Then his gaze shifted to the humans behind Sam, the ones who had gotten dragged into the tunnels by panic. A couple of townspeople shaking, eyes wide, holding a flashlight like a weapon. The stranger stared at them. His smile faded again. He took one slow breath. Then he spoke, calm and clear. "You are not prey," he said to the humans. War's smile stayed, but his eyes sharpened. "Oh?" War said. "You're choosing restraint?" The stranger met War's gaze. "I am choosing," he said. "That is the point." War laughed softly. "Then choose again," War said. War stepped back into the dark like the tunnel was a curtain. His presence faded. Not because he was defeated, because the ring was gone, and this round had given him what he wanted. Proof. Proof that the stranger could be tempted, and proof that humans could resist war with nothing but courage and a plan. Dean grabbed Sam's shoulder. "We're leaving. Tono." Sam clutched the ring tight like it might bite him. "What about him?" Sam said, nodding at War's empty space. Castiel's eyes were tight. "War will return," Castiel said. "He always returns." Dean looked at the stranger. "What about you?" Dean snapped. "You got your fun. You satisfied?" The stranger didn't look satisfied. He looked focused. He looked deeper into the tunnel. "There is a chamber," he said. "A ritual," Dean cursed. "Of course there is." Sam held up the ring. "We have the ring," Sam said. "That should weaken it." Castiel shook his head. "War is only one piece," Castiel said, "and the ritual may not be his." Dean's stomach sank. "So hell and heaven are still playing?" The stranger turned, eyes gleaming again. "Then we continue," he said. Dean stared at him. "You're not in charge." The stranger smiled slightly. "No," he said, "but I am useful." Dean hated that it was true. They went deeper. The tunnel widened into an older passage. Stone blocks replaced mine beams. Symbols were carved into the walls, old and worn. Sam's flashlight caught stains on the floor. Old blood. Sam's skin crawled. "This place is ancient." Dean's voice was low. "This is the old stones Bobby warned about." They reached a chamber. It looked like a circular room carved into rock. In the center was a shallow carved basin, like a bowl in the floor. Around it were symbols in a ring, some angelic, some demonic, some not matching either. And around the basin were candles, fresh ones. Someone had been here recently. The alpha vampire stiffened. "This is it," he said, eyes flicking around, nervous now. "This is where they take blood." Dean aimed his gun at the alpha. "Who's they?" The alpha swallowed. "Demons," he said, "and men in suits who smell like lightning. Angels." Sam's mouth went dry. Castiel's face tightened. "Rogue agents," he said, "or sanctioned." Dean muttered. "So, either way, we're screwed." The stranger walked to the basin and looked down. He touched the edge with a gloved finger. His eyes narrowed like he was reading a message left in dust. "This is not for war," the stranger said quietly. Sam frowned. "Then what is it for?" The stranger's smile returned, slow and dangerous. "A door," he said. Dean's blood ran cold. "A door to what?" The stranger didn't answer right away. He looked up at the carved symbols again. Then he said softly, "To something that should not be opened." The chamber went silent. Then a voice echoed from the tunnel entrance. "Well done," the voice purred. "Oh, you found the stage." Dean spun, gun raised. A demon stood in the doorway, not alone. 2 more behind him, and behind them, a human in a suit, eyes normal, hands shaking. A hostage. The demon smiled. "The king sends his regards." Dean's jaw clenched. "Crowley." The demon chuckled. "He prefers your majesty," the demon said. "But yes." Sam's hand tightened on the ring in his pocket. He wished he could throw it like a grenade. Castiel stepped forward, eyes flashing faintly. "Leave," Castiel warned. The demon's smile didn't fade. "Oh, Angel," he said. "We're not here to fight you." He pointed at the hostage. "We're here to make a trade." The hostage's voice shook. "Please," he whispered. Dean's muscles went tight. "What trade?" The demon looked at the stranger. "Him," the demon said, "or we start spilling." The stranger's eyes gleamed. Dean's voice went hard. "No." The stranger didn't move. "How predictable," he said. Sam's mind raced. This is exactly what Act 2 warned about. Not a straight fight. A moral trap. The demon smiled wider. "See?" he said to the stranger. "Humans. So noble. So stubborn. They'll get people killed just to feel clean." Dean pointed his gun at the demon's head. "I will paint these walls with you." The demon laughed. "You can try." The stranger stepped forward, calm. "Release the human," he said. The demon smirked. "Why would I do that?" The stranger raised one pistol and fired without warning. The bullet hit the demon's shoulder and spun him against the stone. The other demons jerked in surprise. The hostage screamed and dropped to the floor. Dean dove, grabbing the hostage and dragging him back behind a stone pillar. Sam moved with Dean, covering them. Castiel's eyes flashed bright now. He smote one demon into smoke, the chamber filled with black vapor and the stink of sulfur. The remaining demon shouted, "Now!" The symbols around the basin flared. A red glow rose from the floor. A containment circle snapped into place around the stranger, faster than the hospital trap. Stronger. Older. The stranger looked down at it. His smile was thin. "Again," he said. The demon coughed, smoke leaking from his mouth. "Hold him!" he barked. The circle pulsed. The air thickened. Castiel turned sharply, eyes narrowing. "This is not only demonic," he said. Sam's heart sank. "Angels helped build it." Dean's voice was a growl. "Of course they did." The stranger pressed his palm to the glowing air again. It held. Not forever. But long enough for the demon to grin through pain. "Sorry, you're worth more than a town," the demon hissed. The stranger's eyes stayed calm. "So is he," the stranger said, nodding slightly at Dean behind the pillar. "He simply doesn't know it." Dean froze. "What?" The stranger didn't explain. He leaned forward and spoke low, in that older language again. The circle flared, fighting him. The demon screamed. "No!" Then the chamber shook, not from the stranger's force, from above. A deep crack echoed through the stone. For a second, everyone froze. Then the ceiling split. A heavy slab of rock crashed down between the demons and the hunters, blocking the tunnel entrance. Dust poured into the chamber like fog. Sam coughed. Dean covered the hostage's head. Castiel turned, alarm sharp in his posture. "The hill is collapsing," he said. Dean stared at the falling stone, mind racing. "Ma, that wasn't us." The stranger's eyes gleamed. War. War wasn't here in body anymore, but the chaos he started was still moving. War didn't need to stand in the room to make the world break. The demon behind the fallen rock screamed in anger, muffled by stone. "Get him out!" he yelled at someone on the other side. The stranger's containment circle pulsed again. The stranger smiled slowly. "Your timing is poor," he said. He pressed his hand into the air like he was pushing against a door. The circle cracked. The symbols flickered. Then the circle shattered in a burst of red light. The stranger stepped out like he was stepping through mist. Dean grabbed the hostage and pulled him up. "We are leaving," Dean barked. "Now, before this whole hill falls on us." Sam looked at the basin. "The ritual." The stranger pointed at the symbols. "Memorize," he ordered. Sam blinked. He hated being ordered, but he understood. Sam snapped photos fast with his phone, hands shaking. Castiel grabbed Dean's arm. "Go," Castiel said. "I will hold the stone if I can." Dean dragged the hostage and sprinted. Sam followed. The stranger moved like a shadow behind them. They ran up the tunnel as dust chased them. Behind them, demons shouted. Stone groaned. The hill cracked like a giant bone. They burst out into the cold evening air just as a section of the ruin collapsed inward. Dean stumbled and fell to one knee. He coughed dust. Sam helped the hostage breathe. Castiel stepped out last, coat torn at the sleeve, eyes dimmer than before. The stranger stood at the edge of the collapse and watched it like it was a curtain dropping after a show. Dean stood and grabbed the stranger by the coat. "Oh, did you see that?" Dean snapped. "That was a trap, a ritual, a door." The stranger looked at Dean calmly. "Yes," he said. "Now your world knows my value." Dean's face twisted. "I hate that sentence." The stranger's smile was small. "And yet it is true." Sam looked up, ring still in his pocket, phone full of photos, mind buzzing. War. Alpha vampire. Demons. Angels. A door. This wasn't just a hunt. It was a board game with the world as the board. And the stranger was a new piece no one knew how to handle. Down in the town, sirens wailed. People shouted. Fights still broke out in streets, even with the ring gone. The damage would take time to fade. Dean watched the town and felt a hard truth settle in his bones. The world had noticed them. And now it wouldn't stop watching. 2 weeks passed, but it did not feel like 2 weeks. It felt like a long night that never fully ended. Dean kept driving. He always did. Gas, coffee, cheap motels, fake badges, and the same old fear sitting in his chest like a brick. But now the fear had a new shape. Sometimes it sat in the back seat. Sometimes it walked beside the car at night and didn't make a sound. Sometimes it was gone for days, and Dean hated that even more. The red-coated stranger did not stay like family. He did not sit at diner booths and laugh at Dean's jokes. He did not call Bobby for advice. He did not ask where the bathroom was. He came when things got loud. He vanished when things got quiet. Dean watched the pattern like he watched a loaded gun. Sam called it a routine. Dean called it a problem. They stopped in a small town in Missouri because Bobby had sent a warning. People were showing up dead near a river. No bite marks this time. No blood drained. Just bodies, with faces frozen in fear. Dean and Sam worked the case like normal. They interviewed locals. They checked old records. They salted doorways. They watched the river at night. The stranger stayed in the shadows as if he didn't care. Then a demon surfaced from the water like a crocodile. It wore a man's body that still had hospital bands on its wrist. It smiled at the hunters like it had been waiting. Dean raised his gun. Before Dean fired, the stranger moved. Dean didn't even see him cross the distance. One moment the stranger was near the trees. The next, he was in front of the demon. The stranger spoke softly, almost kindly. "You are far from your chain," he said. The demon laughed. "And you're far from yours." The stranger's eyes flashed. For a second, Dean thought the demon had hit a nerve on purpose. Then the stranger's pistol fired once. The demon's head snapped back hard. Smoke curled out of its mouth. It didn't die. Demons didn't die from a bullet like that. But it fell back into the river, shocked and hurt, and it fled. The stranger didn't chase it into the water. Dean noticed that. He could have. Dean could feel it. The stranger could have dived in, ripped the vessel apart, and ended it. Instead, the stranger stepped back into the shadows as if the demon wasn't worth the trouble. Sam watched him too, eyes narrowed. Later, in the motel, Dean slammed the door and rounded on him. "You let it go," Dean snapped. The stranger looked at Dean as if Dean had asked why the sun was bright. "Yes." Dean's voice rose. "Why?" The stranger's smile was small. "Because it wasn't hunting," he said. "It was bait." Dean froze. Bait for what? The stranger's eyes flicked to Sam's laptop on the table, to the photos of the ritual basin and the mixed symbols. "For a door," he said. "Or for a chain." Sam's stomach tightened. "They're still trying." The stranger nodded once. "They will always try," he said. "Hell does not give up. Heaven does not forgive surprises." Dean's jaw worked. "So what? We just keep running forever?" The stranger didn't answer right away. He walked to the window and looked out at the parking lot. A family unloaded suitcases from a minivan. A kid carried a stuffed bear and waved it like a sword. The stranger watched for a long beat. Then he spoke, quieter. "No," he said. "You don't run. You endure." Dean hated that the answer sounded almost respectful. When Sam sat at the table with pages spread out like a map, he didn't look up. "Bobby's coming tomorrow," Sam said. "He thinks he found a match for one of the symbols." Dean rubbed his eyes. "Great. Another symbol. Another nightmare." The stranger's voice was calm. "Symbols are doors," he said again. "And names are doors." Dean shot him a look. "Stop saying doors." The stranger smiled. "No." Sam's head hurt from too many late nights. He sat at Bobby's kitchen table with a stack of printouts and a notebook full of scribbles. Bobby paced behind him, coffee in hand. The room smelled like paper and old wood. It was safe in a way that felt rare now. Castiel stood near the sink, staring at nothing. He looked tired. That scared Sam more than any monster. Angels weren't supposed to look tired. The red-coated stranger leaned against the doorframe. Quiet, like he didn't care about books, like he only cared about results. Bobby jabbed a finger at the photos. "That basin," Bobby said. "It's not just demon junk. Some of that is Enochian, angel writing." Sam nodded. "Yeah, and some is older. It's not Latin. It's not Enochian. It's something else." Bobby grunted. "Found a reference in an old Men of Letters journal. They called it threshold script. They didn't know where it came from. They just knew it showed up near thin places." Sam's throat tightened. "Thin places between worlds." Bobby pointed at Castiel. "Tell him, Featherbrain." Castiel's jaw tightened. "There are doors," Castiel said. "Between realms, between dimensions. Heaven guards some. Hell tries to break some. Humans sometimes stumble into them and die." Sam swallowed. So the ritual is trying to make one on purpose." Castiel nodded. "Yes." Bobby slammed his mug down. "And it explains the teamwork," Bobby said. "Demons got the hunger. Angels got the power. And both sides got the ego to think they can control what comes through." Sam looked at the stranger. "And they think they can control you," Sam said. The stranger's smile was faint. "They are welcome to attempt," he said. Sam didn't smile back. "That's not funny." The stranger's gaze slid to Sam, and for a moment his expression was almost patient. "You think I do not understand danger," he said. "I do. I have lived inside it." Bobby stepped closer to Sam, lowering his voice. "Here's the part I don't like," Bobby said. That horseman ring you took? It might be an ingredient. Sam's fingers went cold. An ingredient? Bobby nodded. Anchor object. A thing that ties a force to the world. If they combine that ring with vampire blood and angel grace. Castiel's eyes flashed. They could stabilize a breach, he said, long enough to pull something through. Sam's mind raced fast. Or push something through. Bobby's face was grim. Either way, it's bad. Sam looked down at the iron box on the table. The ring was inside it, wrapped in cloth, sealed with salt and sigils. Sam had not let it out of his sight. Sam whispered, "So we keep it hidden." Bobby nodded. "We bury it if we have to." The stranger finally spoke again, voice mild. "You should not bury it," he said. "You should cage it." Dean's voice came from the doorway. "Oh, you're giving advice now?" Dean walked in with a bag of burgers. He tossed them on the table like it was war supplies. Sam took one without thinking. Then he realized what he was doing and laughed once, sharp and tired. Dean noticed and smirked. "See? You're still human?" The stranger looked at the burgers with mild confusion, like he'd forgotten food could be casual. Dean pointed at him with a burger. "Don't even start." The stranger's mouth twitched, like he almost enjoyed Dean's tone. Castiel didn't touch any food. He looked at Bobby, then at Sam. "Heaven is watching me," Castiel said suddenly. Bobby froze. "Yeah, no kidding." Castiel's voice was flat, but something in it sounded like pain. "Not from a distance," Castiel said. "Closely." Sam's heart tightened. "Because of him?" Castiel glanced at the stranger. "Because of you," he corrected, looking at Sam and Dean. "Because of what you do, and because of what you allow." Dean's face hardened. "We didn't allow anything." Castiel's eyes sharpened. "You brought him into your circle," Castiel said. "That is allowance." Dean looked ready to argue. Then he stopped, like the words caught in his throat. Because Castiel was right, in a way Dean didn't want to admit. Bobby sighed. "So what's Heaven's plan, Cass?" Castiel hesitated. "Containment," he said. "They will try to bind him. If they cannot, they will remove what he values." Dean's blood ran cold. "He doesn't value anything." The stranger spoke softly. "Incorrect." Everyone looked at him. The stranger's gaze slid to Sam first, then to Dean, then to Bobby. It wasn't warm, it wasn't friendly, but it was clear. "I value will," the stranger said. "I value those who keep standing." Dean's stomach twisted. He didn't like being noticed like that. Sam leaned forward. "Then help us," Sam said. "Not just when it's fun. Help us stop the ritual." The stranger's smile was small. "That," he said, "is interesting." Bobby rubbed his face. "We need a lead," he said. "Some place where demons and angels would both risk showing their hand." Dean's phone buzzed. Dean checked it. His expression changed. Sam felt his own chest tighten. "What?" Dean looked up. "We got a message," Dean said, "from a number that doesn't exist." Bobby groaned. "Oh, hell." Dean read it out loud. "Tonight, abandoned church off Route 60. Come alone. Bring Dracula." Dean's jaw clenched. "Crowley," Sam whispered. "He knows the nickname." The stranger smiled faintly. "Of course he does," he said. Castiel's face tightened. "It could be a trap," Dean barked a humorless laugh. "Yeah, no kidding." Bobby pointed at Dean. "You don't go." Dean pointed back. "We have to." Bobby's voice rose. "You don't walk into a demon king's meeting place with a horseman ring in your pocket and a walking apocalypse in your back seat." Sam swallowed. "We don't bring the ring." Bobby stared. "Where do you put it?" Sam looked at the iron box, then at Bobby's floorboards, then at the old safe behind Bobby's desk. Bobby shook his head. "Not enough." The stranger spoke calmly. "Give it to me," he said. The room went silent. Dean's voice came out sharp. "No." Sam's eyes narrowed. "Why?" The stranger's gaze didn't move. "Because I cannot be tempted by it," he said. "It is not my kind of power. It is not my kind of door." Castiel's eyes narrowed. "That is an assumption," Castiel warned. The stranger looked at Castiel. "It is experience," he replied. Bobby exhaled hard. "Oh, we're not giving you a horseman ring." The stranger didn't argue. He simply said, "Then you will lose it." Dean's stomach turned again. Sam stared at the box and realized something ugly. The stranger might be right. Not because Sam was weak, because their enemies were patient. Bobby finally said, "Fine, we lock it in the safe with every ward I know. If they want it, they'll have to burn this house down." Dean nodded once. "Okay." Sam didn't feel okay at all. Crowley liked churches, not because he believed in anything, because churches were full of fear, and fear made people sloppy. He stood near the cracked altar of the abandoned church off Route 60, hands behind his back, smiling at the empty pews. The stained glass was broken. Moonlight spilled through like pale water. He had demons outside, spread out, hidden. Not a mob. A team. He had learned from the hospital. Noise drew angels too fast. He didn't want a war tonight. He wanted a decision. A few minutes later, the church doors creaked open. Dean walked in first. Gun raised. Sam followed, eyes scanning. Castiel appeared in a flicker of cold air, like a warning sign. And then the red-coated stranger stepped in like he owned the building. Crowley's smile sharpened. "There they are," Crowley said, voice smooth. "America's favorite codependent brothers." Dean's face tightened. "Talk fast." Crowley's eyes flicked to the stranger. "And you," Crowley said softly, like he was savoring it. "The big mystery." The stranger's gaze stayed calm. "Demon King," he said. "Still breathing." Crowley chuckled. "I make it a habit." Dean stepped forward. "Why are we here?" Crowley spread his hands. "To keep things civilized," he said. "Because the last time you lot had a party, a hospital almost fell down." Sam's voice was flat. "That was you." Crowley raised a finger. "Technically, that was everyone, which is why I'm offering a solution." Dean's eyes narrowed. "Here it comes." Crowley looked at the stranger again. "You want purpose," Crowley said. "You want a war worth fighting. You want a way back to your little origin story." Dean snapped. "We don't even know where he came from." Crowley smiled at Dean, then looked back at the stranger. "Oh, but I do," Crowley said. The stranger's eyes narrowed slightly. Crowley stepped closer. "Careful, like you approached a tiger with meat in your hands." "You call him Dracula," Crowley said lightly, "but that's a child's story." Dean's jaw tightened. "It fits." Crowley's smile turned sharp. "No," he said. "It doesn't." Crowley looked the stranger dead in the eyes. "Alucard," Crowley said. The name hit the room like a bell. Dean froze. Sam's eyes widened. Even Castiel's posture shifted, like the name carried weight. The stranger didn't flinch, but his smile vanished. For the first time, the red-coated stranger looked truly still, not bored, not amused, focused. Dean's voice came out rough. "That's your name?" The stranger's eyes stayed on Crowley. "Names are doors," he said softly. "You spoke mine." Crowley lifted his hands, mock innocent. "Guilty," he said, "but it proves a point. I can learn things about you. I can learn more." Sam swallowed. "How do you know it?" Crowley shrugged. "I have libraries," he said. "I have witches. I have creatures that taste reality like wine. And ever since you dropped into this world, you've been Loud. Castiel's eyes narrowed. You searched other realms. Crowley smiled. Of course I did, he said. Why would I not? Dean's stomach turned. So what's the offer? Crowley's smile brightened, like a salesman finally reaching the pitch. I can give you a door, Crowley said to Alucard. A real one. Not that messy basin you found under the hill. A controlled door. A path to the world you lost. Maybe even a path to your master. Dean's heart kicked hard. Sam's breath caught. They all felt it. That was the bait. Alucard's eyes flicked, just once, like a blade turning in light. Crowley noticed and leaned in. Imagine it, Crowley purred. Purpose again. Orders again. A war you understand. A woman in command who knows how to hold your leash without fear. Dean's hands curled into fists, and he didn't like Crowley talking like that. Not about anyone. Not about control. Not about a leash. Alucard's voice was quiet. And your price? Crowley's smile stayed. Work, he said. When I call. Protection for my interests. And a promise. Alucard waited. Crowley's eyes glittered. When the door opens, Crowley said, you help me decide what else comes through. Sam's blood ran cold. No. Dean stepped forward. Absolutely not. Crowley sighed. You boys always react like I asked you to kick puppies, he said. It's business. Castiel's voice was low. You would risk the multiverse. Crowley blinked, then smiled wider. Oh, listen to you, Crowley said. So dramatic. Alucard's gaze stayed on Crowley. You wish to use me as a key, he said. Crowley's smile didn't fade. No, he said. I wish to use you as a partner. Dean barked a harsh laugh. Same thing. Alucard didn't laugh. He looked at Crowley, then at the broken stained glass, then at Dean and Sam. Dean met his eyes and felt something unpleasant. Dean realized he was afraid of Alucard's answer. Not because Dean thought Alucard would join hell for fun, because Crowley had offered something that hid a real place, a missing place, a purpose place. Crowley's voice softened. You don't belong here, Crowley said to Alucard. You know it. This world will chew you up with boredom. Heaven will try to chain you. Hunters will try to kill you. Give yourself a way out. Alucard's eyes narrowed, almost thoughtful. Dean couldn't take it anymore. He stepped between Crowley and Alucard, gun raised. He's not your toy, Dean snarled. Crowley rolled his eyes. I'm not talking to you. Dean's voice cracked with anger. Then you should. Crowley's gaze flicked to Dean, annoyed. What is it with you and adopting strays? He asked. You do it with angels. You do it with demons. You do it with each other. It's exhausting. Sam stepped up beside Dean. You're not opening doors, Sam said. Not with us. Crowley's smile turned cold. I wasn't asking you, he said. Then the air snapped. Cold pressure filled the church, like the hospital all over again. A figure appeared near the altar, suited, calm, eyes like ice. Castiel stiffened instantly. Dean's stomach sank. Him. The angel looked at Castiel first. Castiel, he said, like a teacher speaking to a disappointing student. Still lost. Castiel's jaw clenched. Zachariah. So that was his name. Zachariah's gaze moved to Crowley. Demon, he said, from bored. You are persistent. Crowley smiled like he hated it. Zachariah, he said, always a pleasure to see you pretending you're better than me. Zachariah ignored him. His eyes landed on Alucard. You, Zachariah said. Alucard. Dean's head snapped slightly. He knows the name, too. Zachariah's voice was calm. You will come with me, he said. You will be restrained. You will be studied. You will be used if you are useful. Dean's face twisted. Wow. Subtle, Zachariah didn't look at Dean. If you resist, Zachariah continued, eyes still on Alucard, I will remove your attachments. Dean felt heat rush into his face. He doesn't have attachments. Zachariah's gaze flicked to Dean at last. Dean's lungs tightened as if invisible hands pressed. Not enough to kill him, enough to remind him what power felt like. Zachariah spoke lightly. You, he said, are an attachment. Dean's vision blurred with rage. Sam grabbed Dean's arm, grounding him. Dean, Sam whispered. Alucard's eyes turned very, very bright. The air around him felt heavier, like a storm building. Zachariah smiled faintly, like he'd wanted that reaction. There it is, Zachariah said. The true nature. Crowley chuckled. Oh, this is getting good. Castiel stepped forward. Stop, Castiel said, voice tight. This is not what heaven should be. Zachariah's eyes stayed calm. Heaven is not what you want, he said. It is what it must be. Alucard took one slow step forward. Zachariah raised a hand, ready to crush him again. Crowley watched, pleased, like he'd set two lions in the same cage. Dean's hand shook around his gun. He knew he couldn't shoot an angel and win. Now he knew he couldn't shoot Crowley and end it, but he could do one thing. He could say the truth out loud. Dean looked at Alucard, voice rough. Don't do it, Dean said. Don't let them make you prove their point. Alucard's gaze flicked to Dean. For a second, Dean thought he saw it again. Not kindness, not friendship. Respect. A respect that said, you keep standing. Sam spoke too, steadier. Whatever you want, Sam said. It's not worth becoming their tool. Zachariah's mouth twitched. They are bargaining with you, he said to Alucard. Like that was disgusting. How quaint. Alucard looked between them all. Hell offering a leash with a smile. Heaven offering chains with a sermon. Hunters offering nothing but a hard road and rules they could barely enforce. Alucard's smile returned, slow and sharp. Excellent, he said softly. Zachariah narrowed his eyes. You accept heaven's authority, Alucard chuckled once. No, he said. Crowley's smile widened. You accept mine. Alucard's eyes slid to Crowley. Also no. The room went still. Zachariah's face hardened. Then, you choose destruction. Alucard shook his head once. No, he said again. I choose freedom. Zachariah raised his hand. The pressure hit. Dean gasped. Sam staggered. The pews creaked under invisible weight. Alucard did not fall. Alucard's coat fluttered. His skin split in a thin line near his cheek, then healed. His eyes locked on Zachariah. He spoke calmly, loud enough to cut through the pressure. You wanted my name, Alucard said. Here it is. You wanted my nature. Here it is. Then he did something Dean didn't expect. Alucard stepped backward, not away in fear, back toward Dean and Sam. He placed himself between them and Zachariah like a wall. Dean's breath caught. Zachariah's eyes narrowed. You protect them. Alucard's smile was thin. I protect what interests me, he said. And you interest me less than they do. Crowley scoffed. Oh, don't get sentimental. Alucard didn't even look at him. I will make my own rules, Alucard said. Hear them. He raised one hand, palm outward, like he was setting terms. 1, Alucard said, voice steady. No collars. Zachariah's pressure intensified. The stained glass rattled. Alucard continued anyway. 2, he said. No doors. Not for you. Not for hell. Not for heaven. Crowley's smile faded for the first time. Now wait. 3, Alucard said. Any creature that hunts humans in my sight becomes my prey. Dean swallowed. He felt the hairs on his arms rise. Zachariah's voice was cold. And if we refuse these childish rules... Alucard's smile returned, small and deadly. Then you will learn something, he said. Zachariah's eyes flashed. Enough. Zachariah's hand clenched. The pressure should have crushed Dean and Sam to the floor. It didn't. Castiel had moved. Quietly. Fast. Castiel's hand was raised, and his eyes burned blue. He wasn't overpowering Zachariah. He couldn't. But he was redirecting the force, pushing it up into the ceiling beams and down into the stone floor instead of into human ribs. Castiel's face tightened with effort. Dean stared. Castiel gritted. Move! Dean grabbed Sam and pulled him behind a pillar. Not because it would stop an angel, because it gave Castiel less to protect. Alucard lifted both pistols. He fired at Zachariah's feet, not his heart. The bullet shattered the stone, sending fragments up like shrapnel. It was not meant to kill. It was meant to break focus. Zachariah's eyes snapped down for half a second. That half second mattered. Alucard's shadow surged, not like a wave this time, but like a curtain dropping. It swallowed the space between Alucard and Zachariah. Zachariah's face tightened in anger. He flared with light, burning through the dark. The church shook. Outside, demons shouted. Wings beat in the air that no one could see. Crowley backed up, annoyed now. "All right," Crowley said. "This is officially too messy." Zachariah's voice sharpened. "You will be taken." Alucard's voice cut through, calm and clear. "Not today," he said. The shadow snapped back, and Alucard was suddenly not where he had been. He was behind Zachariah. Zachariah turned fast. But Alucard wasn't trying to stab him. He was trying to do something smarter. Alucard leaned close and spoke one sentence into Zachariah's ear. Dean couldn't hear the words, but he saw what it did. Zachariah's eyes widened slightly, like someone had whispered a truth he didn't like. Then Zachariah's gaze flicked to Dean and Sam. Calculation replaced anger. Zachariah's pressure eased. He stepped back, suit perfect again, like the damage had never happened. "This is delayed," Zachariah said. Cold. Not ended. Castiel swayed slightly as the force lifted. His eyes dimmed. Crowley exhaled with fake boredom. "Well, that was thrilling," he said. "We should do it again sometime." Zachariah ignored Crowley and looked at Alucard. "You will be watched," Zachariah said. "Every moment." Alucard smiled. "Then watch," he replied. Zachariah vanished. The air warmed a fraction. Crowley stared at Alucard now with real irritation. "You just threw away a way home," Crowley said. Alucard's gaze slid to Crowley. "No," he said. "I refused your trap." Crowley's smile turned cruel. "You think you can stop doors forever?" he asked. "Darling, doors are what this universe is made of." Alucard's eyes narrowed. "Then I will stand in front of them," he said. Crowley's eyes flicked to Dean and Sam. "And you'll let him?" Crowley asked, amused again. "You'll let a monster decide what's safe." Dean raised his gun. "Get out." Crowley sighed dramatically. "Fine," he said. "But I'll be back. And next time I won't ask." Crowley vanished. The church fell quiet except for the creak of old wood. Dean's heart still hammered. Sam's hand still shook. Castiel stood very still, as if he was holding himself together by will alone. Alucard turned and looked at Dean. Dean's face twisted. "Don't," Dean said. Alucard raised an eyebrow. "Don't what?" Dean swallowed. He hated how hard it was to say what he meant. "Don't act like you're one of us," Dean said. "You're not." Alucard's smile softened just a fraction. "No," he said. "I am worse." Dean flinched. Alucard continued, voice calm. "But I am also honest," he said. "I will not pretend I am good. I will not pretend I am safe." Sam stepped forward, voice careful. "Then why choose this?" Sam asked. "Why choose us over them?" Alucard looked at Sam, and his answer was simple. "Because you stand," Alucard said, "even when standing is foolish." Dean stared at him, throat tight. Alucard turned toward the door. "I will not live in your car," he said. "Why, I will not sleep in your motels. I will not follow you like a dog," Dean muttered. "Thank God." Alucard paused and looked back. "But," he said, "if you find the door again, you call." Sam's voice came out quiet. "And if we call you, will you come?" Alucard smiled slightly. "If it interests me," he said. Dean rolled his eyes. "There it is." Alucard stepped out into the night. He vanished into the darkness like he belonged there. Dean stared after him, jaw tight. Bobby's voice echoed in Dean's head. "Grenade with opinions." Dean hated that it fit. Sam watched Dean's face and understood what Dean wouldn't say. Dean was afraid, not only of Alucard, afraid of what the world would do to Alucard, afraid of what Alucard would do to the world. Castiel spoke softly, almost to himself. "He chose," Castiel said. Dean looked at Castiel. "Oh yeah," Dean said. "He did." Sam's voice was careful. "Does that mean anything?" Castiel's eyes were tired. "Choice is rare," Castiel said, "especially for beings like him." Dean walked out of the church into the cold night and felt the new shape of their life settle in. No clean endings, no simple allies, just a monster who refused chains. And two brothers who would still keep a plan in the trunk just in case. The next month did not become easier. It became different. Some hunts felt almost normal. Vamp nests, angry spirits, a demon possession in a farmhouse. Those were the old nightmares. But now there were new signs in the margins. A demon group wiped out in one night. Bodies stacked like warnings. No human casualties. A nest of monsters abandoning a town without a fight, like something scared them off. A rumor on hunter boards that Dracula was real, and he didn't like bullies. Dean hated the rumors. They drew attention. Sam read them anyway. They helped map a pattern. Castiel came and went, always returning with the same grim truth. Heaven was watching. Hell was planning. And the door ritual was not dead. It had simply gone quiet. Because quiet was safer than loud. Dean sat in the Impala one night outside a motel, chewing on a cold burger because he couldn't sleep. The parking lot lights hummed. The world felt still. But Dean knew better than to trust stillness. Sam was inside, asleep on top of a book, pen still in his hand. Castiel stood across the lot, staring at the sky like he could hear distant commands. Dean took another bite and muttered, "This is our life now." A voice spoke from the dark beside the car, calm as a whisper. "Yes," the voice said. "It is." Dean's hand snapped to his gun. Alucard stood there, half in shadow, coat hanging still, eyes bright. Dean let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. "Dude," Dean hissed, "stop doing that." Alucard's smile was faint. "No." Dean glared. "Why are you here?" Alucard's gaze slid past Dean to the motel door. "You are restless," Alucard said. "It is loud in your head." Dean scoffed. "No kidding." Alucard looked out at the road, quiet for a moment. "I found something," he said. Dean's stomach tightened. "A door thing?" Alucard nodded once. "A man," he said. "A human. Working with demons. Carrying papers with your symbols." Dean's chest went cold. "Where?" Alucard's eyes gleamed. "2 towns north," he said. "In a warehouse. They are preparing." Dean's jaw tightened. "Why didn't you stop them?" Alucard turned his head slightly. "Because you must see it," he said. "If you do not, you will not understand how deep it goes." Dean hated that Alucard was right. Dean took a slow breath. "Okay," Dean said. "We wake Sam." Alucard's smile returned, small and sharp. "Good," he said. "This will be interesting." Dean stared at him. "Don't say that like it's a movie." Alucard tilted his head. "Is it not?" he asked. Dean wanted to hate him. Dean did hate parts of him. But Dean also knew one hard truth. If Alucard hadn't chosen what he chose in that church, Dean and Sam might already be dead. Dean looked away, voice low. "You're a monster." Alucard's smile didn't fade. "Yes." Dean swallowed. "And you're still here." Alucard's eyes glinted. "Yes," he said again. "For now." Dean took one last bite of his burger, stood, and opened the motel door. He was already planning, already bracing, already choosing to keep standing, because that was what he did. Behind him, Alucard watched the road like it was an old friend. And far above them, in places neither hunter nor vampire could see, watchers shifted their gaze, because the story had not ended. It had only changed shape. Morning came gray and quiet. Dean and Sam drove north. Castiel vanished to scout Heaven's movement. Alucard did not ride in the car this time. He moved in his own way, appearing when needed, disappearing when not. The warehouse was real. The symbols were real. The demon smell was real. So was the new truth. They were no longer chasing monsters. They were blocking doors, and the door had learned their names. That night, when the warehouse fire died down and the human captives were safe, Dean sat on the hood of the Impala and stared at the stars. Sam sat beside him, rubbing soot off his hands. "We stopped it," Sam said quietly. Dean didn't answer right away. He watched the dark highway and listened for footsteps. Finally, Dean spoke. "We stopped this," Dean said. "Not the whole thing." Sam nodded. "I know." A few feet away, Alucard stood in the shadows, looking out at the same road. Castiel watched from a distance, silent and uneasy. Dean exhaled and said the words he had been holding. "Dracula," Dean called out, tone rough. Alucard didn't move. "Yes?" he said. Dean hesitated. It felt stupid. It felt too soft. But he said it anyway. "Thanks," Dean muttered. Alucard turned his head slightly. His eyes gleamed in the dark. He didn't smile wide. He didn't laugh. He just gave Dean a small nod, like a warrior acknowledging another. Then he looked back at the road, and for a moment, the world felt almost steady. Not safe. Not simple. Just steady enough to keep going. Dean stared at the night, feeling the theme of it all settle in his bones. Monsters didn't stop existing. Angels didn't stop controlling. Demons didn't stop scheming. But sometimes, even a monster chose rules. And sometimes, two human brothers were stubborn enough to make that choice matter. The road kept stretching forward. Life in this universe continued, just different now.